540 is back post-service. This was the first time I got it out on the highway and got some miles on it since all the rear suspension work. I think I went through kind of the service at a high level. I don't know if I got everything, but rear H-arms, ball joints, integral links, subframe bushings, differential reseal, differential fluid change, of course, transmission fluid change. We're using Redline D4 ATF now in hopes that it smoothens up some of the shifts, particularly when it's cold. That remains to be seen. It takes a little bit of time for new fluid to kind of wear in and get into the synchros or whatever has to happen. But so far, so good. Only one failure so far. I did the UUC clutch stop. So the factory clutch stop in this, for whatever reason, is too short. And the clutch pedal goes down to the floor and then grazes the side of the clutch master cylinder, which makes an unpleasant noise. So initially I tried to replace it with a factory one, same problem. Then I moved on and kind of made my own out of a nut and a bolt, and had to sand and grind the thing down and paint it and then put a rubber pad over it. And that worked for a little while, but it was wearing prematurely. So this time I tried the UUC shifter, which is like a hockey puck. It's a fat boy, 3/4 thick probably, on a, M10 by 1.5 thread. Put that in there. Felt okay. I adjusted it all the way down as low as possible, as close to the carpeting, and it won't even start. And that's because the clutch position sensor doesn't realize that the clutch is pressed in. Yes, I can code the sensor out. No, I don't need it, but I don't want to have to do that. So we're going to be searching for a plan L, something that still allows the car to start, but is kind of in between the other two solutions. Additionally, on the interior, both front seats came out. We've got new buckles or receptacles up here for the seat belts. When I got this car, these were really faded, kind of to a gray color. So I took a Sharpie and I made them red again, and they looked 90% as good as this with the Sharpie. But the problem I've had is with this passenger seat, and it just seems to kind of rattle and resonate over rougher roads, and it was driving me nuts. And if I grabbed the seatbelt like this or twisted it or pressed it against the console or the seat, it wouldn't make the noise anymore. So finally I just decided, okay, I've had these in a box for a while, knowing that they're getting more and more expensive. Let's just put them in. So I did that, and no more rattle. Also, when these seats were out, obviously these are E38 Sport Contour, fully refurbished seats that are still in magnificent condition. Driver's seat gets a little bit shiny now and again, and I have to take some Z9 to it to make it look like this one again. But the seat rails, the bases, the forms that actually bolt down into the chassis of the car were obviously off the same 750 or whatever that these were off of. But it was a car from Eastern Europe, or at least ended up in Eastern Europe, and those rails were really rusty. I don't know if the seats were stored outside or if it was off a rust bucket car, but there's no rust anywhere in or around this car at all, and I hated to introduce a rusty component. So my old original E39 comfort seats that I sold to our technician, Alan, he put those in his E30, but he didn't need the bases. He custom fabricated bases or forms to put in the E33 series. So I still had my original clean rust-free bases. So we swapped those out, same exact part between the two seats. Now I've got no rust, and when I vacuum the back seat once a week, now I won't have to look at the orange crusties. I'm missing a bunch of stuff. I know we did like parking brake cable grommets in the subframe. The hooks were all there, but the grommets were falling apart. Brake fluid change, couple other basics. Nothing really pertaining to the engine or driveline, at least in front of the differential. Obviously the diff got work. I didn't do the axles. I didn't do the rear bearings or the hubs. All of that seems to be fine at 133,000 miles. So that stays for now. But after the work, we did a 4-wheel alignment, we did a road force tire balance, and coupled with everything else, it was, to me, a pretty noticeable night and day difference driving this car home today. It is quieter, it is more taut, it feels more controllable, it feels more planted, it's completely glass smooth, whereas before 85 to 90 miles an hour, I would have a little bit of a, not a shake or a shimmy in the steering wheel, but it wasn't glass smooth. It felt like there were flat spots on the tires or something, probably just poor balance. All of that is gone. It feels absolutely magnificent. I couldn't be happier with it. So with that stuff done, oh, and rear fender liners got done too, because the tab that goes over to the subframe mount with that weird push pin that goes up in there, that tab broke off. The rear fender liners, I remember filming the E39 Source project video on this car and saying like, oh, if this were the M5, I'd replace them, but this is just going to be a daily, I'm not going to put that much money into it. That didn't happen. But I said, we'll just clean them and it's good enough. Well, Yes, it was good enough, and I could have plastic welded them or just zip tied them or drilled some holes and put some rivets somewhere to hold it together, but they're available now. I had one in stock. The prices are only going up, and I love this car. I want to keep this car a long time now. And that wasn't the original objective with it. I wouldn't have said within the first month of ownership, this would be a car I have in 5 years. It may be a car I have in 45 years now. I don't know. God willing, we'll see what happens. Just decided to get that done while it was out. But with all this stuff done, I'm looking around. It's like, we're almost there. And people ask me all the time, oh, is it done? No, cars are never done. And this car will never be done. But I am running out of things that are on my short list. So probably sometime in this calendar year, or maybe not this calendar year, but upcoming, I will replace the windshield again. It's gotten pretty pitted up in the last 2 or 3 years. And when I do that, that means, of course, the wipers and the cowl are off. So I will replace the wiper arms while they're still available and affordable with some new genuine parts. These, when I had it in for all the paint correction, ceramic coating, PPF, that stuff, they glossed them up somehow, and I can't get that gloss off there. I don't like it. Plastics are faded. So we'll just do new wiper arms. And then the chassis covers, driver's side's the fuel filter cover. This side is just a big square piece of plastic. I have those parts already. I've been sitting on them for a few months. So eventually we'll get those replaced. They're still original. The outside edges along the chassis here are kind of crumbling and flaking apart. So other than that, hell, I mean, I've done the paint and body work I'm going to do. Wheels and tires are great. Tires are about a third or half worn. So that'll be a basic maintenance item eventually. Oh, and we did the fuel system too. Remember, I've been filming, like, I'll film the gauge. It shows like, and this was an instance 10 days ago. I was just below a quarter tank, just a hair below a quarter tank indicated. And I filled it with 18.8 or 18.6 gallons of gas. No, that is not normal. Something was clearly wrong there. So we've got a new fuel pump, Venturi hose, left level sender, right level sender, all hardware. I had already done the filter. So with that new, now I'm going to have to monitor it for a few weeks, make sure everything's seated right. It's very difficult to install in the tank, and we did it with 3/4 of a tank of gas in the car, which is not ideal. But we should be good. This thing's nice now. So anyhow, tonight was a Chrono SD San Diego Watch Nerd Club meet over in Torrey Highlands or something like that. So Larissa and I went over there, met with the club for a little bit. Kenan was there, met a few new people, talked watches, tried some stuff on. It's always fun. And then just had dinner, kind of a sports bar type place. So we did that. We're back. It's 9:10. Getting to bed. Today was very, very stressful at work. Just a mentally taxing day, if I can say that. It's the E36M3 writing the estimate. He wants an estimate for anything that isn't perfect. So that's 85% of the inspection now needs to be written. And because we haven't really done many E36M3s before, I do not have these services saved as canned services in the application, in the shop management application, which means everything has to be handwritten, look up all the parts, import the 530 front control arm job, and then modify it and edit it and go find the vendors and the suppliers, what's available, what's not, do the background research, figure out who has the best price. It's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work. So I'm in 7 hours, 22 minutes. I'm 34% complete with just an estimate, which means I'm going to have about a 24-hour estimate. That's 3 full working days to provide an estimate for a restoration. And I don't see a way around it. This isn't an oil change on a Saab 900. I can't just put in a VIN and click, spit me out this. It doesn't work like that. Anyways, I'm going to bed. I'm dead. Tomorrow's Friday. I look forward to wrapping up this week. We'll talk then. Night.